Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today, let's talk about a Kenyan romance movie. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe to help us out. In the first scene, we see Kingsley. Kingsley is a master's degree holder in marketing, but he has been jobless for the past 2 years, and he lives with his always exacting father. In this scene, we see him being interviewed for a job. The woman asks him why he hasn't worked since he was fired from his previous employment, but when he tries to explain himself, she shuts him up and continues screening his resume. When Kingsley notices how rude his interviewer is, he makes a bad joke about her protruded belly. He sarcastically congratulates her for her pregnancy, but she soon gets angry and chases him away from her office. Thereafter, we see Kingsley's ex-girlfriend. Her name is Sophia. Sophia works as a morning host on a very popular radio station in Nairobi. Here, we see her rehearsing on how she is going to ask for a raise from her boss. Sophia has been working in the station for 5 years now, so she feels she is paid less than she's worth. Meanwhile, we see Kingsley in his father's kitchen preparing lunch for himself. After making some food, he leaves the kitchen messed up, then we see his father step in. When he sees the mess Kingsley made in the kitchen, he berates him for leaving the kitchen dirty. Afterwards, he tells Kingsley to get himself a job, rather than sitting down in his house and wasting his food. Later on, we see Kingsley and his friend Tambo. Kingsley tells his friend about his father's constant nagging, and how he is being treated because he doesn't have a job. Hearing this, Tambo laughs at him, and then he tells Kingsley that his case is not any different from his. He says he lives in a rented apartment which he struggles to pay its bills. And on top of that, the people he took a loan from are on his neck for their payment. After endless complaints about their finance and the state of the economy, the pair decides to go to the bar to have some drinks. Elsewhere, we see Sophia finishing up her morning program on radio. Afterwards, she goes to her boss's office to ask for a raise. By the way, his name is Williams. She tries being formal with Williams, but he tells her to drop the formalities and call him by his name. Hearing this, Sophia confidently places her demands for a raise and comments on how she deserves more than she gets from the company. Williams gives her a long but awkward stare, and then tells her she would get the raise she asked for. Excited, Sophia goes home and celebrates with her sister for finally getting a raise. Her name is Ada. The next morning, Sophia wakes up late and prepares for work. When she gets there, she is told by the security man that she no longer has a job there. Her boss was involved in a federal loan scam a while ago, and since she was employed by him, her job is no longer valid in the station. Sophia becomes depressed on hearing this, so she goes home and is consoled by her sister. While they are talking, we realize that the job was Sophia's first and only job since she graduated college, and so finding another one would be very difficult. Her sister consoles her, then assures her that she'll definitely land a job very soon. Days later, we see Sophia in her room binge watching movies and eating junk food. Ada comes into the room and sees how unkept her room is. She tells Sophia that she managed to secure a job interview in a media firm uptown. Obviously uninterested, Sophia reluctantly agrees to go to the interview. Elsewhere, we also see Kingsley in his bedroom praying to land a job so he can move out of his father's house. While he is doing so, his father walks in and tells him that he has secured an interview for him at a media firm. Then this gets Kingsley really excited. Before going out, he tells Kingsley not to embarrass him like he did in his last job. The next day, Kingsley wakes up with the sound of the alarm, but Sophia slouches on her bed until she is eventually late for the interview. When she gets there, she meets with the receptionist Wiki, who tells her that she's late but can still make it for the screening. Excited, Sophia trips while going into the room and rips her pants in the process. She tries to explain things to Wiki, but she tells her that she only has a few minutes left, and that she'll have to continue with the interview otherwise she won't get another chance. When Sophia gets into the screening room, she sees her ex-boyfriend Kingsley also interviewing for a position in the company. After the interview, Kingsley goes outside to talk to Sophia, but she accuses him of being in the interview just to spite her. Kingsley tells her it's just a coincidence, but Sophia just wouldn't have it. While she's walking away, he sees her turn pants and teases her about it. She snuffs at him, but he takes off his coat and ties it around her waist, even with her resistance. When Sophia gets home, she tells her sister about her encounter with Kingsley, and how she's never going to work with someone as annoying as he is. She says that if she eventually get the job, that would mean she'll have to work next to her ex-boyfriend who she hates. Ada advises her against letting her past affect her future. She tells Sophia that if she's actually in need of the job, then she'll have to put her past behind her. Later in the night, we see Kingsley and Sophia stalking each other's Instagram profile. While they are at it, they both get employment notifications from the media firm they interviewed in, meaning they'll have to resume work the next day. The next morning, we see Sophia in her employer's office. His name is Mike. Mike tells her that there are a lot of people who are more qualified than she is, but she only got the job because of her experience as a radio presenter. He tells her she'll be put on probation for the next 3 months, and that she'll be working with Kingsley as a co-anchor. Sophia thanks him for giving her the opportunity to work under his company. Before leaving, Mike tells Sophia to pay more attention to her dressing, and that she'll have to dress a lot better as a TV presenter. Later on, we see Sophia and Kingsley have a face-off outside their office. Sophia tells him that since they'll be working together, they should have rules guiding their office relationship. Kingsley agrees with her, so they both decide to keep their work professional and simple. The next day, we see Kingsley in the studio having his first practice section before going live on TV. The director tells him to begin, then we see Sophia walking in, all looking glowed up. Kingsley makes fun of her dress, so Sophia replies by making fun of his choice of cologne, and how he applied too much of it. The two go on and on with their banter, until the director steps in and tells them to stop. She tells them to put aside whatever they have against each other, or else they won't be able to go past the testing stage. The next test session, we still see the two behaving cold against each other. The director steps in once again and tells them that they'll have to do better than that for them to go through their probation period. She tells them to sort themselves out, otherwise she'll have to report them to their boss. Afterwards, we see Sophia and Kingsley finally behaving professional towards each other. They are not best of friends, but they've decided to keep their differences aside while keeping their job. One day, a reporter falls ill, so Mike gives Sophia and Kingsley the duty of reporting a story about a recently launched Ferris wheel. When the pair gets there, we see them chatting and eventually getting romantic. They both reminisce about their dating life, and how they would have frequently visited the park if they were still dating. By the end of the day, Kingsley accompanies Sophia home, but they eventually end up kissing. From then on, we see them having a romantic relationship in the office, and even outside their work. While they are out on a date one day, Kingsley goes to ease himself, so Sophia asks to use his phone. While using it, she sees Kingsley's paycheck and instantly gets angry on seeing Kingsley receives twice as much as she's paid, but they both perform the same duties in the company. The next day, Sophia confronts Mike about the issue, so he tells her that Kingsley negotiated his salary while applying for the job. Mike offers to do her same favor, only if she pleases him sexually. She slaps him for this, then he gets angry and gives her an option of doing as he says or quitting her job. Sophia decides to quit her job, then we see her on her couch the next day. Kingsley visits her to know what is going on with her, but she tells him that she's not in the mood to talk with him. Kingsley asks Wiki if she knows what happened to Sophia, so she tells him everything that transpired between Sophia and her boss. Hearing this, Kingsley confronts Mike, but he ends up getting physical with him. Kingsley gets fired from the company, then we see his dad confronting him for getting fired from his job yet again. Kingsley explains everything to his dad, including the corruption he witnessed in his last job. His dad eventually sees reasons with him, then we see them both doing the dishes together. In the scenes that concludes the movie, Sophia and Kingsley get back together as a couple. Kingsley also decides to open a business with the help of a loan, while Sophia secures another job in a media firm. Moral of the story: always do the right thing regardless of the situation. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to help the channel out. We recap African movies here every day, so you wouldn't want to miss out on them.